we have got an overall average for the top 5 favourites at this year's World Cup tournament. You guys can join in as well wherever you're watching right now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you comment with your thoughts as we go through the 5. We're going to ask loads of questions as well, so if you want to interact with that, that'd be pretty wicked. And if you want to mention the swear word, Italy, feel free to do it in the comments. Adam has to go and have a look at them a little bit later on when he watches back. Anyway, let's start, shall we? And let's kick off with the bookies' favourite to win this World Cup. It's that Samba side, isn't it? It's Brazil. 9-2 on average. A good pick, Adam. I mean, I think it's everyone's obvious choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they have a good balanced team. They've got Neymar back. They've got a good manager. They've got tons of talent throughout their squad. And they'll be on a bit of a mission, won't they, after the way that the last World Cup ended at home, getting beat 7-1. I think look to prove everybody that was just a one-off and that they really are as good as they usually are. And everybody likes watching Brazil, don't they?
Yeah, they've got such a talented side, that's for sure. Like, majorly talented. The question marks with Brazil have always been at the back. It looks like the new managers come in and strengthen them a little bit. They haven't conceded as many goals recently, but before he did, it was more or less a free-for-all at one point, wasn't it? So are they looking more assured now in the middle of the park and at the back?
Yeah, the manager's brought quite a lot of balance to their team, and he's also benefiting massively from having Roma's goalkeeper, Alisson, who keeps Man City's Ederson out of the side, and he's a fantastic goalkeeper, and he's bailed out Roma on plenty of occasions this season. He does the same for Brazil, and he can play as well, so he fits right into their style and their approach, and he's a massive bonus for them because he just cleans up so many mistakes, gets them out of trouble so many times, and it really is it's quite a surprise to see that Brazil have probably got one of the best goalkeepers in the world, but this time they actually do, and it can only help them, can't it?
Yeah, he's getting some serious heat on his back at the moment, isn't he? A lot of clubs really, really interested in him. So it'd be good to see how he matches up in the same tournament as De Gea, Neuer. It could be a key player, but another one who we know who is a key player, you mentioned him earlier on, Neymar. Just must be breathing a sigh of relief for the whole of Brazil that he's fit, and he's clearly ready to go after the friendly suggest. He could literally put himself on that Ballon d'Or shortlist. I know he's out injured, but his record actually is not bad before injury. I think he played 30 games with 28 goals. So if he has an amazing tournament now as well, surely he can put himself right up there with Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, definitely. So he's already got the club level trophies, hasn't he? Because PSG win everything, and if I think it really is because obviously Barcelona nearly went undefeated all season. Ronaldo's got the Champions League. Neymar's got domestic trophies with France and a good goal scoring record in the games he did play, as you say. The Ballon d'Or really is up for grabs at the World Cup, and it's one of those years where nobody's really dominated the club football scene. If everybody's split the trophies equally amongst themselves, so whoever wins the World Cup out of all these big players is right there with a chance, aren't they?
And I think it was quite nice as well. A lot of conundrums all over the park for Brazil. Surely it looks to get Fred in. Coutinho's been playing well. You said Neymar's playing well. A few players pick themselves. Defensively, there could always, at some points, be improvement, although that looks like it's moved a little bit. But up top, I think it's a big one. Firmino or Jesus? Get involved in the comments if you want to. Adam, who would you be going for?
I think it'll probably depend on who they're playing and how they're playing. I think Firmino offers a little bit more in the build-up play, a little bit more of a target man as well, whereas Jesus has probably got a little bit more pace and quality in behind, although Firmino can do that as well, obviously, as we've seen with Liverpool. So I think as they go further in the tournament, you might see a little bit more of Jesus, but they've been scoring a lot of goals, and if they can keep doing that, then maybe they can both get some run in the side and they can both get goals, and it doesn't really matter. I think it'll be interesting to see who he puts in at the start of the first game, and maybe we just go from there.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see what happens from game one. But I think all in all, probably bookies got it right, and they probably Brazil favourites for this. Yeah,
I would say so, yeah.
Current form, but not too far behind. The second of the bookies' favourite with an average of 5-1, Germany. Now, of course, this would be 2 in a row. Could it be 2 in a row?
I think that's always difficult. I think they've got a lot of the same faces who won 4 years ago, and I think we've seen with Spain last time that does take its toll, and a little bit of hunger's not there compared to the teams that do have it, so that could make a difference. And I think the big thing for them is going to be Manuel Neuer for me. He's just scraped into the squad at the last minute, clearly not fully fit, but the manager Joachim Löw said that he would only take him if he could play, which seems to indicate that he is going to play Neuer, which seems to be a massive gamble for me given how much time he's missed. And that really could be a weakness. Yeah, he's still the same guy, he's still an intimidating presence in the box, but you've got to fancy that some of these teams are going to target him and try and exploit any weaknesses that he shows or any weaknesses that they can find. And that really, along with the fact that they're the holders and won't be as hungry, that really does take a big knock for me. And I think it's a good reason why they're only second favourites, not favourites. And you can see a couple of other teams who we'll come on to talk about later on probably should be ahead of them as well.
Interesting, because to be fair, in Europe, they're probably Europe's favourite, maybe. I think they probably are. If I think teams in Europe, I think Spain, Germany, possibly France creeping inside. I think we're going to talk about all of those in a minute. But for me, I think the most interesting point is that we're not actually talking about... I don't think anyone right now, when we mention Germany, are talking about them winning the World Cup. We're talking about them dropping Sane from the squad, which is absolutely mental. What a player. Had a terrific season last year. For whatever reasons, Brandt is going over him. I think Brandt is a fantastic footballer, and I think, as Joachim Löw has said recently in a presser, Sane just hasn't turned up for the national team yet. Do you think that is the case, and that's why he's not in the squad?
I think it takes a little bit of time for anyone to shine at international level. I think we're
still young, isn't he? Still very young.
We see that all the time. I mean, there's some players who play brilliantly in the Premier League who simply never do it for England, and it never happens. You see the same with Italy. You see the same with Spain. Yeah. With Sane, I think maybe it's just a case. I think the flip side of, my God, what a brilliant player, how can you leave him out, is, well, look at the talent that they have got. It's not like they're not picking three guys from down the park. They have a brilliant team. They've won the World Cup without Sane, and they could probably do it again. It really does just hint at the quality available to Löw, and you hope that he would know, after he's been in the job so long, the players he needs to win it, and the players who make the best squad to be stuck together in a hotel for a month, and maybe Sane doesn't fall into that.
Well, Podolski's a good example of that. Manuel Veth has been on the show with us before. He was saying, obviously, Podolski, quite a lot of time when he was picked for these tournaments, probably wasn't the best in his position at the German nationals, but he still used to go to the big tournaments because he's a funny guy. What he'd done for the dressing room is better than what anyone else could do. So, there's some reports of Sane's arrogance, maybe, mood swings, not liking being on the bench, etc. So possibly that does also play a factor. It's a team sport, the World Cup. I keep saying, I think it's more a team sport, tournaments like this.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's all about the makeup of the squad, isn't it? I mean, as you say, with Podolski, in 2006, Italy took Angelo Peruzzi, even though he'd actually retired from playing as their third choice keeper, purely because he's a good laugh. And that's all it was. He became an assistant coach like the day after they won it. And that's all he was there for. He was a good laugh, and he kept the goalkeepers in good spirits. And sometimes you need players like that, and especially if you're going to be in there a long time. And if Sane's not going to play from the outset like he does every week for City, maybe it is right that he's not in there, and maybe they do have somebody who's better at being on the bench than he is. And we don't know that because Sane doesn't do it for his club team. So it really is that you have to trust it. Joachim Löw is the World Cup winning manager. You have to kind of trust his judgment over mine and yours and everybody else's in the comments. Sorry, guys, but you have to just kind of guess that the guy knows what he's talking about.
And he's very, very experienced at international level, like ridiculously. Yeah. I can only really remember Joachim Löw as Germany manager. It's crazy. So again, incredible. We've been a little bit negative here about Germany, I feel. On a positive, they've got some wicked players, haven't they? They've got some great young flair players in there as well. As you said, they're taking Neuer. And again, he was scared of frightened people when strikers are through one-on-one. They've got a real chance, haven't they? But it's just about that team, that whole team thing. It needs to be set up right. They need to be playing.
It does, and I think that's when Germany are at their best, though, as well, isn't it? When you're not talking about a specific player and you're just talking about Germany are a fantastic team. That's what they were at Italia 90 when they won it. That's what they've been throughout the years in the past. They've had great players, but it's the strength of their team and their unity and the fact that they're bloody brilliant at penalties that puts them over the top, and it's always the case. It's easy to overlook them because they are the holders and because we know their names and blah blah blah. But it really is difficult to ignore them, and they will make a noise at this tournament without a doubt. For me, they'll get into the latter stages. They'll probably knock somebody else's favourite out along the way, and maybe they will come up short in the quarters or the semis, even the final. But I think they're going to be right there towards the last 8 for me, at least. And then from there, it's anybody's, isn't it? It's whoever has the best month, really.
And it could be France's. They're third favourites with the bookies at 13-2 on an overall. What do you make of this France side? I think they're very, very exciting, and maybe they're not everyone's first pick, but they're definitely an underdog pick there. 100% an underdog pick out the 5 that are on this list.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they have a manager who's been around a long, long time. He was, 2004 Champions League final with Monaco as coach. That's a long time to be around at the highest level. He's won the World Cup as a captain. He knows what it takes to deliver when it matters in these tournaments, to be away in a foreign country, in a hotel and with your team for a month. He knows how difficult it is. He knows how to get the best out of these young players. He's got some incredible talent at his disposal. I think maybe more than any other squad at the World Cup, man for man, down to the 23rd player, they have more talent than anybody else. And it really does. A guy who we both have watched a long time and up close and personal for our club teams, Paul Pogba. He's, again, like you were saying about Neymar with the Ballon d'Or, Pogba's really got it right there, hasn't he? If he could have a special tournament, that could be the making of him for the next 3 or 4 years. And he definitely has that in him. He loves the attention, and we're better to bring that down than at the World Cup.
On the other side, though, could be the opposite effect. For me, I think this World Cup will make or break him, sadly. I know he's still young. I know he will bounce back from it, but at his age, I think right now, if we want to see the world-class Paul Pogba that's worth £89 million, which he is when he's playing as good as he can play, he has to have a good World Cup. He has to be brilliant this summer. If he's not leading France to that World Cup final, I worry about him a little bit. I think with the way that the press, writers, people can get on his back, fans, the way people take the mick now, the way the internet works, I just think that Paul Pogba, it could really affect him if he doesn't have a brilliant tournament. But on the flip side, he could have an amazing tournament and be the best player in the world by the end of it. It's mad. Yeah,
it is, and that's always the way with him. He's such a divisive figure. He really is. People, old fat middle-aged white guys hate him because he dyes his hair every week. Like,
I love it.
This is where we are, and he loves that attention, and that's why he does this stuff. There's a brilliant article on Breacher Report about Pogba, about what he's like away from football, and it's a fantastic read. And he really is just a special talent, and if he can put it all together for 7 games, then yeah, he'll be right there. I think there is a little bit of a middle ground where he can play exceptionally well, but France still come up short, and it's not all Pogba's fault that they haven't won the World Cup. But as always seems to be the way with him, it's all or nothing. He's either setting the world on fire and scoring amazing goals, or he's arguing with Mourinho and sent on the bench. He doesn't really have a 7 out of 10 game, does he? He's either 10 or 2.
No.
And I've seen that for Juve, you've seen that for United, and I'm sure there's probably plenty of fans of France sat there bashing away in the comments saying, yeah, he does that for us too. I think the team is set up perfectly for him to succeed. He's got Kante holding the fort behind him. He's got Griezmann ahead of him waiting to bang in the goals. He's right there, and we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but he's the man who's got to go and deliver, and he's the one who brings all this attention with all the publicity that he does, having Raiola as his agent, the way that he talks. Well, it's time to show and prove, isn't it? And he can do it or he can fail, and we'll see this summer, and it'll be bloody brilliant to watch whichever way it goes.
I think, as you've just alluded to there, they have an amazingly balanced side. When you look through it, Pogba, obviously, Kante, obviously Varane. I think Varane could really solidify himself as probably one of, if not the best centre-back in world football if he has a good tournament. Then you've got Griezmann. There's still question marks over his future and what he's going to be doing after the World Cup. He could quite possibly give himself a world record transfer move with a good tournament. And even moving aside from that, Mbappe, we've just got a bit of magic, a bit of everything everywhere.
And even Lloris, I mean, if he has a few good games, you can be talking about him being amazing again. And he seems to go up and down quite a bit and be a little bit inconsistent. So I think that's the thing with France as a whole. They've got a lot of very, very talented players who seem to be a little bit inconsistent, and if they can all put it together at the right time, they're right there. But they could also, like they did in 2002, crash out in the group stage and it'd be a complete disaster. It always seems to be the way for France, and that might well continue. But yeah, they have some very special players who everybody will be taking a real long look at over the summer.
All or nothing, basically. Again, it's an old case of all or nothing. Okay then, another team I want to hit on is Spain. We stay in Europe for this one, shall we? I'm really interested to hear your opinion on this, actually, on Spain, because what I find quite interesting is I don't feel like everyone at the moment is talking particularly about Spain winning the World Cup. There's other teams in front of them, and in past tournaments that has not been the case. What do you make of this Spanish side?
I think there seems to be a little bit of transition, don't they? They're moving away from the Xavi and Iniesta, the team that we all know. But because of the way they keep the ball and the fact that they've got David De Gea, they're going to be really difficult to score against because they boss possession, so you only get a limited amount of opportunities. And then when you do, your man is there waiting to keep him out still. And he's incredible, isn't he?
My boy!
You don't need me to tell you that, And I think the one problem for me looking at Spain this summer, which seems ridiculous the way that they've been in the past, is that you wonder where the goals are going to come from. They've left out Morata, which probably on form is right, but like we were just saying about Podolski, he knew when to turn it on in a World Cup. Morata's done it for Spain quite a bit. He's done it for Juve, particularly in the Champions League when it mattered. And he is a player who loves a big game. And I think that leaving him out might be a decision they come to regret as the tournament goes on, because I really do think that they might struggle for goals.
Well, I read a stat on Diego Costa earlier. Don't know where it's gone, because he's going, isn't he? I think it's something like 18 games, 6 goals. I think something like that. I can't remember what it is. So as you say, the goals are a little
when he made his debut in 1946, because he's really 84.
I think that's probably is the case, isn't it? He's probably the oldest looking footballer going to the World Cup. It's crazy. But I think it is quite interesting in Spain. I think you're right. I think if we're looking for the kings of keep ball, give the trophy to them now. If we're talking about least conceded, again, Spain all the way. But maybe you can go through a tournament winning every game 1-0.
Well, they've done it.
Great about tournament football.
Spain did it,
and Greece done it in the Euros as well, didn't they? It can be done, but you don't want to see it. You want to see better.
You don't, and I think since Spain did it at the World Cup, and that's only 8 years ago, and obviously since Portugal 14 years ago, Greece in Portugal 14 years ago, I think the game's changed so much, hasn't it? You look at the likes of Mourinho, and you look at Arsene Wenger, and the game's passed them by because everybody's playing so much faster, and we'll score more goals than you. And I think that might be where Spain are this summer, in that they come up just short again, because I think so many other teams are better prepared to score goals. And it's not that the game's passed Spain by, because they invented this style, really, haven't they? But I think that where their squad is at the moment, they're lacking the players to see that through. And I can't see Spain winning the game 3-2. And you look at these other teams who we've discussed so far, the likes of France and Germany and Brazil. As good as Spain are defensively, I don't see that they're going to keep a clean sheet against those guys. So then you've got to score goals. And do you really back Spain in a shootout against those two teams? Not a penalty shootout, an actual 3-2, 4-3 kind of game. I don't see Spain being able to do that. I don't see that they've got the goods to do that at the moment, and that for me is where they'll come short. They'll probably be able to grind it out through the group stage, but when the big guns all come to face each other, I think they might fire a few blanks.
Well, they're averaging at 13-2, the same as France, and they're fourth on our list. If you want to get involved, comment below, by the way. If you want to talk about anything from the Brazil chatter to Jesus or Firmino playing up front. France, is it a make or break tournament for Paul Pogba? And Spain, where the bloody hell the goal's going to come from? Let us know. And with Germany, should Sane be in the squad? I don't know. Put your comments below and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Final team out of our 5 favourites, as we're picking them apart, Adam, is Argentina on this shortlist. 10-1. I think before the show, when we were having a chat, we were talking about the fact that when we have international breaks, we don't sit there and watch Brazil. Well, Argentina really is in the same category as that. I can't remember the last time I watched Argentina. I think the only Argentina I can think about that I've ever watched, and don't get me wrong, I've watched others as well, was a game against England. That was like, what, 2004? Beckham scored the penalty? Probably even before that. I can't even remember what year that was.
I watched them in Manchester against Italy in March, and they were rubbish.
Oh, were they? Okay, brilliant. Yeah, well, let's move on then.
but Messi didn't play, so...
Yeah, well, and this is the thing. When you've got a player like that, and he's in the team, you've got a completely different product there, haven't you?
You really do, and I think it's the same for Portugal, who obviously not among the favourites, but they've got Cristiano Ronaldo.
He's France my boy as well.
France with Pogba, and obviously Neymar. If any one of those guys plays as well as they possibly can for 7 games, they're going to be really difficult to stop. Yeah. And Messi, more than anybody, carries the fortunes of his country on his back, doesn't he? Like, you look at that team, and Argentina, this massive country with a great footballing heritage, and they can't find 2 fullbacks to save their life. You know, their team always seem to be a centre back or a fullback short. They've got a very functional midfield with the likes
and a mistake always in them defensively. Otamendi's always got a mistake in him. Always.
Yeah, I mean, Otamendi and Fazio, like, we've seen these guys in the Premier League. Then Fazio's come to Roma, and I've seen him playing there, and he does still have a mistake in him. And I think with Belia and Mascherano in front of them, then maybe the chances of that are negated. But again, I think the team just looks flawed. But Messi's so good that you can't write them off, because any one of these teams at the World Cup, Messi can beat by himself. We know that. We've seen it. The problems come when it gets really close, when it gets to the semi-final and the final, as we've seen with Argentina in the past. They do come up short, but Messi's still good enough to overcome that, because for all these last 3 finals where they've come up short and Higuain's missed the chances, Messi's not scored goals either, and that's the difference for me. If he scores goals in these finals, then we're talking about a different story, and he can win any game of football at any point. And he is that damn good, and if he does it this summer, then we really are talking about him not just as the greatest footballer in Europe, but probably the greatest of all time.
I think what's interesting is, we're just talking about Spain, where if it was a shootout, 4-4, 5-4, etc., you couldn't see them scoring the most amount of goals to win that game. I think like this is sort of the not the opposite effect, but I think Argentina have that effect where if they were in a shootout with a team, you could see them losing that game because they would concede the most goals out the 2, which I think is quite a nice way of putting it. You can't see them defensively being good enough, and if they set up too defensively, then going forward there's just going to be too much onus on Messi, which is going to bring me to my point now. Avid viewer of Italian football, Icardi hasn't made the squad. I've watched a few games of him this season, and he misses sitters for absolute fun, that guy. But he also scores goals, and he's on the end of chances. Why is he not in the squad?
I think it goes back to what we were saying about Sane, to be honest. I think you look at Argentina, and when their first game, they'll start Higuain. Absolutely. He has a better understanding with Messi than anybody else, the way that the team works better when Higuain plays. So Higuain starts. Then they have Aguero on the bench. And then they tend to bring some lesser-known players. Like Lo Celso they have. And obviously Di Maria is still there. So the space for Icardi is minimal. And I think the distractions that come with everything about him, the same as where we spoke about Pogba hunting for publicity, Icardi is the same. And he's the inter-captain. He plays every game, plays 90 minutes nearly every week. He's not used to being on the bench or being told no. I think he'd really struggle with that, and he doesn't have the international experience. And I think, in a way, I've had this discussion elsewhere, but in a way, I think it might help him, because if Argentina come up short again, it'll be time for a new broom to sweep clean in their international squad. And I think as they wipe out this current generation and bring in a new one, Icardi will benefit from not being tainted by another failure if they do come up short. So I think if they win it, obviously he'll be gutted to be left out. But anything other than winning it, I think he's in the perfect position. He's still only 24. He's been Serie A leading scorer twice already in his career, which is insane. And he just does score. He does score goals for fun. Yeah, he misses chances here and there, but a lot of the best strikers do, don't they? He still gets his goals. Because they get on the
end of everything.
He got 29 league goals this season. I think he only played 34 games. He's an incredible, incredible talent, and we're going to see him in the Champions League next season as well, because Inter got him there. So,
well, just to quickly say, Adam, on that point, because you've gone in depth there, which is absolutely amazing, because you could have done what most people are doing right now and just put, because Messi doesn't like him. That's what you could have said, but you didn't. You went in deeper, and that's what we absolutely love, because at the end of the day, you know, as much as that might be true or might not be true, there's reasoning behind everything, and the fact of the matter is, Icardi is a striker who misses a lot of chances, yes, might not have turned up on the international stage yet, but he also scores a lot. And for someone who doesn't watch a lot of international football, to hear that from you and to hear about him, his age, the way he plays, it's quite interesting, that, because he could be the next one to lead them. He could be the next player to take them to that next step. They are 10-1 anyway for this tournament, and they are the fifth favourites. Brazil, Germany, France, Spain, Argentina. A question for you, Adam. I've got one more team. We won't talk about them a lot. We'll do a quick 60 seconds on them. They are the most betted on team to win it this World Cup. Who do you reckon it is?
Not Italy.
No, it's not Italy.
Good.
It'd be a wasted bet if it was.
Some sensible people.
There is some actual real people in the world.
Go on. Who is it?
Belgium are the most betted on team to win the World Cup this year. Probably because of the odds. The odds are quite generous, and they're a team there that have a good group of players. They've got a lot of stars in that side. 11-1 is their sort of overall bet, so you can see why people have put that bet on. Are they for you a worthy bunch, maybe?
Or
do you think it's not just there yet? Can't even talk.
No, let's put it this way. If you tell me that Argentina are 10-1, so I can bet 10-1 on Lionel Messi winning a trophy that he's playing in, that's good odds, right? If you tell me, well, I bet Barcelona are never 10-1 to win anything. But then if you tell me that Roberto Martinez is 11-1 to win a tournament, I'm going to say that's not very good odds, because he's just not a very good manager.
Do you know what? Do you know what you've just done? Do you know what you've just done now, Adam? You have just basically told us why this show is absolute nonsense, and I love that. We'll end it on that, shall we? Those are the favourites in the World Cup, and do you know what? Those bookie odds there, they're just the overall. And do you know what? Adam is spot on there with what he's saying. Basically, they just graft out from what different bookies are putting on. So all in all, they do not represent the singular odds at certain betting agencies. But you are right. 11-1 for Roberto Martinez to win the World Cup. I never thought of it that way before. That's mental.
It is mental. I think Belgium have got some incredible players. We watch them all the time. They've left out Radja Nangolan just so that the rest of Italy's national team don't feel by themselves. He absolutely should be there. For me, he's probably Belgium's second best player after De Bruyne. But they've still got some hugely talented players. But they've got Roberto Martinez as the manager. He's not good enough for Everton. He's not winning the World Cup, is he? Let's be honest.
Is Thierry Henry assistant? Or is he coach, isn't he? Oh,
he's assistant coach, yeah.
There we go. Well, Adam Digby, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. Enjoy the World Cup. And as you said, Brazil are the team you're going for. Brazil interesting. Me. Comment below, anything on the show, hit subscribe on Sportsy, and we shall see you soon.